Good morning. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. It's Thursday, August 14th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump will meet Friday with Vladimir Putin at a U.S. military base, Sagar Meghani at the White House.
President Trump wants his takeover of the DC Police Department to last a while longer.
We're going to be asking for extensions.
I'm Rich Johnson.
First Lady Melania Trump threatening to sue Hunter Biden.
Epstein introduced Melania to Trump.
I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, the S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ each open again this morning at new record highs. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A melting glacier sends water cascading into Alaska's capital, and over 24 Mexican cartel leaders face American justice.
Dana White says President Donald Trump's proposed UFC fight at the White House is moving forward. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Donald Trump held a virtual meeting with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders who gave the president an earful over concerns that Russian leader Vladimir Putin is not ready to negotiate in good faith. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports this led Trump to issue a warning to Putin before their meeting tomorrow in Alaska.
President Trump will meet Friday with Vladimir Putin at a U.S. military base long used to counter Russia.
It was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelensky. I'm going to call President Zelensky, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing.
It's an ironic twist, and while Joint Base Elbendorf-Richardson in Alaska may seem like an odd Moscow summit choice,
it makes sense for both sides.
Defense and security expert Benjamin Jensen says just being invited to the U.S. is a win for Putin, who has not visited the West since the Ukraine war started.
As weird as it seems to have the Russian president meet the U.S. president on a major military base in Alaska, it makes sense for both sides. The last thing Putin and his propaganda, corrupt inner circle want is pictures of Americans protesting Putin being there at a public setting. And if you had it in a more traditional setting, people could get close. No one's getting into the military base who doesn't have an ID and isn't supposed to be there. And frankly, that means they can really contain the space.
And for the president,
it's a great way for him to show American military strength while also isolating the ability of the public or others to intervene with what he probably hopes is a productive dialogue.
And one the president says could lead to another.
If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
The federal effort to clear the nation's capital of homeless people and reduce crime is underway. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports President Trump is talking about extending his takeover of the Washington, D.C. Police Department, but will need an act of Congress to make that happen.
The law allowing the federal takeover of D.C.'s police department has a 30-day limit unless Congress authorizes an extension. Just a couple of days into the takeover, the president's already planning for that.
We're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days.
Trump said he believes he'll get the full support of Republicans in Congress and the full opposition of Democrats. He told reporters D.C. may not be the only place that will see National Guard troops.
So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in, and it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to use it as a very positive example.
Owing to its unique federal status, the president has authority over the district, but other cities are bound to fight any attempt at federal control. And one of the major reasons for the takeover is to move D.C.'s homeless population out of the district. Deputy Mayor Wayne Turnage says they're trying to warn people on the streets.
We're going around to all of the encampments, and we're letting them know that we have shelter space if they desire. But it is likely that the encampments that they are living in will be closed.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has called the takeover unsettling and unprecedented, but says the city is complying with the order. The president said the federal government will help relocate people, but didn't say where. In Montgomery County, Maryland, which borders D.C. to the northwest, County Executive Mark Ehrlich says the anywhere but here notion just won't fly.
You simply can't walk away and say, you're kicked out of D.C., Montgomery County is not going to do anything, good luck. That's not what we do.
The comments of Ehrlich and Turnage, courtesy of WRC-TV. I'm Rich Johnson.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale. Limited time. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. Lawsuit brewing between Melania Trump and Hunter Biden when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Back now on America in the Morning. Northern tier states face the potential for severe weather today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
In fact, the nation's highest risk for organized severe weather will set up over a zone of the north today, where a piece of energy from a storm heading mostly for southern Canada will be enough to trigger some thunderstorms this afternoon and into tonight from eastern North Dakota and northeastern South Dakota through much of the northern half or so of Minnesota, with the strongest storms likely staying just to the north and west of Minneapolis. These storms may be able to produce strong winds of at least 60 to 70 miles per hour, as well as large hail and a few tornadoes. There should also be a bit higher coverage of afternoon monsoon thunderstorms returning to areas including central Colorado and Wyoming, as well as much of eastern Arizona. The summer monsoon provides a significant portion of the typical rainfall in parts of the southwest, but in places like Phoenix that have only had 13% of the historical average rainfall since July, will at least get back into the daily chances for some thunderstorms through Friday. To the north and west of there, a storm arriving in the northwest may drop as much as 2 to 4 inches of rain through Friday night, both in west central Washington state and along the Washington and northwestern Oregon coast. Some of this rain will bring some drought relief, but localized flash flooding may also result. The eastern U.S. looks to be another hotbed of activity today, with numerous storms developing in the south and especially the southeast once again, any of which can wring out some of the plentiful moisture available to produce some downpours. Thunderstorms should be widespread from the mid-Atlantic through New England ahead of a cold front, and some of them may be gusty with downpours as well. In San Francisco, expect some sunshine today and a high of 67. For Little Rock, Arkansas, some sun gives way to a spotty afternoon thunderstorm, the high 92. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. For the third time in 3 years, and despite emergency barriers being put in place, an area around Juneau, Alaska was flooded when melting from the Mendenhall Glacier sent a cascade of water down the Mendenhall River and forced evacuations. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports the record floodwaters are now starting to recede.
The Mendenhall River flows by Alaska's capital city of Juneau, fed by rainwater and snowmelt from the Mendenhall Glacier.
We have been seeing glacial lake outburst floods from the basin above Mendenhall Glacier since 2011.
Wednesday morning, the river peaked at a record flood level of 16 feet. Nicole Farron at the National Weather Service says it's now receding.
We don't expect another surge of water. The basin appears to have emptied.
New sandbag-style barriers along the river held back the water, preventing widespread damage. But Farron cautions
it is receding slower, further downstream. And so I think staying away from the river is the best advice for everyone right now. That's fast-moving water, and it's very dangerous.
Sound courtesy KTOO. I'm Ben Thomas.
It could very well become Trump versus Biden, the lawsuit. But the principals in the case are maybe not who you'd expect. First Lady Melania Trump is reportedly threatening to sue former President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, for comments he recently made about the First Lady in a TV news interview. More on the story from correspondent Clayton Neville.
Lawyers for First Lady Melania Trump putting Hunter Biden on what they're calling $1 billion notice surrounding what she calls false and defamatory statements about her. The potential legal action surrounds these comments made by Hunter Biden during an interview with Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan and posted to YouTube earlier this month.
Epstein introduced Melania to Trump. The connections are like so wide and deep. Anyway, why do we think they don't want the files released? I don't know.
Trump's alleged connection to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has made headlines in recent months, and a letter sent to Biden and his legal team this week demands that the content be removed and retracted. It also asks that Hunter Biden apologize. I'm Clayton Neville.
When we return on America in the Morning, Social Security checks increase. But is the program solvent? After these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has the Thursday Business Report.
Wall Street opens this morning with the S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ each at new record highs. The Dow rallied 400 points for a second straight day yesterday.
The markets are doing anything to necessarily disturb this very kind of benign view of this uptrend, and we're extending the highs.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. Crypto exchange bullish, more than doubled in its New York Stock Exchange debut after the IPO, initial public offering, priced above its expected range. It opened at about $37 a share, topped $91, and then closed at $68 a share. Inflation is going up, but so is the cost of living adjustment for Social Security checks for next year. An estimate is out. It's not final yet, but the estimate stands at a 2.7% increase. About 1 in 5 Americans collect Social Security. The increase for this year was 2.5%. Inflation was dropping then.
Isn't the future insolvency? Like, isn't that the hard truth about Social Security?
Well, you know, we will always face a curve and there will always be a solution, right? I mean, if you hear what people forecast, it's 83%. In 33, we're in 25. There's lots of time to fix this. The Inspector General found $17 billion in improper payments. We already reduced half of that. So proper payments matter. I expect when we get to the latter half of the year and into next year, we'll be talking about what to do about solvency.
That's Social Security Commissioner Frank Basignano on CNBC. Cava, Chipotle, and other fast casual restaurant chains are getting hit by the consumer slowdown.
It was a tough quarter for Cava. Sweetgreen cut its guidance as consumers pulled back from its salads and bowls. Shake Shack and Chipotle had same-store sales misses this quarter. So if you're a diner, right, and you're looking at eating at home or going out to eat, where do you want to spend your money and what type of an experience do you want to have? And as mentioned, it really seems like it's a company by company basis. But Brinker, right? We talked about Chili's. They had nearly 40% same-store sales comps on a 3-year basis, which is just an unheard of number. So that's an example of something that's doing really well across the past few years, right? Because consumers think it's worth it, and that turnaround has really worked.
CNBC's Kate Rogers. GE Appliances, which is not American-owned, it's owned by the Chinese. Parent company is Haier Group. It'll invest in its U.S. operations and workforce to build more air conditioning and water heater equipment in the U.S. and more. It plans to create 1,000 jobs in 5 states. On today's watch list, we get earnings from tractor maker Deere, and the Madden 26 video game will be released.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, drug cartel figures face American justice after these messages. "26 high-ranking drug cartel figures who were in Mexico are now officially in United States custody." Correspondent Donna Warder reports on an agreement made between the government of Mexico and the Trump administration.
Mexico has handed over to U.S. custody 26 high-ranking cartel figures. They were put on planes Tuesday after the U.S. Justice Department agreed not to seek the death penalty against any of them or any cartel leaders and members sent to the U.S. in February. Included in the latest deal is Abigail Gonzalez Valencia, a leader of Los Queenies, a group aligned with the notorious Jalisco New Generation cartel. The transfer of 29 cartel figures in February came as Mexico is trying to head off the Trump administration's threat of imposing tariffs on Mexican imports. And late last month, President Donald Trump agreed to delay threatened 30% tariffs for another 90 days to allow for negotiations. Donna Warder, Washington.
UFC fight at the White House for America's 250th birthday bash. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
Dana White says President Donald Trump's proposed UFC fight at the White House is moving forward. The UFC CEO is set to meet with Trump to discuss a proposed 4th of July fight card at the White House. White says the fight is happening as part of a 7-year deal with Paramount, a deal worth $1.1 billion annually starting in 2026. Trump said last month he wants to stage a UFC match on the White House grounds with upwards of 20,000 spectators to celebrate 250 years of American independence. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 14th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is calling for Democrat activist Beto O'Rourke to be jailed. I'm Jennifer King.
The number of National Guard troops in the nation's capital is ramping up. Ben Thomas, Washington.
Authorities in Philadelphia say the theft of millions of dollars from an armored truck was an inside job. I'm Clayton Neville.
Deputies hit by gunfire in Virginia. A tragic end to a New Hampshire standoff. A Tennessee town votes on a new use for an abandoned prison. And countries unhappy with tariffs cancel U.S. defense agreements.
President Trump has put a highly personal stamp on this year's list of Kennedy Center honors. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
Back after these messages. Welcome back to America in the Morning. Today's national outlook includes a pattern change for the western United States. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
As a new storm arrives in the Pacific Northwest through the day today, it will bring a couple of significant changes to not only that region, but the western states in general, lasting into at least the start of the weekend. For one, high temperatures will continue to dip after what was a very warm to hot start to this week, with places like Portland, Oregon having highs near 100 degrees from Sunday to Tuesday. That will now crash to around 80 later today and staying generally at or below 80 into early next week. This storm will bring a good dousing of rain to some of the northwest as well, with total rainfall of up to 2 to 4 inches likely through Friday night from the Washington coastline into far northwestern Oregon, as well as through the typical upslope locations in the Washington Cascades. The storm also will pull cooler air not only into the northwest, but parts of the southwest as well, taking the edge off some of the heat from interior sections of California through much of Nevada. At the same time, a resurgence of moisture will finally allow for the return of monsoon thunderstorms to the Four Corners states and more of the interior west starting today, but becoming more noticeable starting Friday, bringing a flash flooding risk, but also some much-needed rain. Elsewhere, a disturbance lifting mainly into Canada will mean the risk for severe thunderstorms from northeastern South Dakota into northern Minnesota this afternoon and tonight, including the threats for large hail, damaging winds, even some tornadoes. In the east, the combination of plenty of moisture in place over the south and a cold front crawling to the south and east brings a large swath of territory with the risk for at least a thunderstorm or two. This zone includes areas from eastern Texas through the southeast, northward through southern parts of Ohio and Kentucky, and north and east into much of Pennsylvania, and throughout the East Coast. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Texas Democrats are returning to the Lone Star State after the special redistricting session of the legislature ended with no quorum. But the fight is far from over as the Texas GOP is still working to pass their redistricting plan. And at the same time, California's Gavin Newsom announces he'll hold what he's calling a beautiful rally for his state's redistricting proposal if Texas goes through with theirs. Correspondent Jennifer King reports Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is ramping up the legal and political fight, speaking on Fox News, saying that Democrat Beto O'Rourke violated a judge's order on funding and could face being arrested.
The judge gave him a direct order, which was you can no longer fundraise, and in his rally, he clearly violated that order. It's not even questionable. So, look, we're just following the law. He is not following the law, and that's where his problems lie, not with me. My job is to enforce the law, and that's exactly what I plan on doing.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is calling for Democrat activist Beto O'Rourke to be jailed for his fundraising efforts on behalf of dozens of Texas Democrats. They've fled the state to stymie Republican redistricting plans. Paxton's a vocal supporter of President Trump and is running for U.S. Senate. Earlier this month, a judge in Tarrant County District Court granted the Attorney General's request for a temporary restraining order to bar O'Rourke and his nonprofit from raising money for or paying for the expenses of quorum-breaking Texas House members. On Tuesday, Paxton asked Judge Megan O'Fahey to hold O'Rourke in contempt of court for continuing to fundraise, pointing to an August 9th rally in Dallas where the former congressman and one-time presidential candidate continued to solicit donations.
We don't await the punch thrown by these would-be fascists to land. We punch first, and we punch harder. We want California and New Jersey and Illinois and Maryland and every other state where the Democrats hold the governor's mansion, the assembly, and the state senate to redraw their congressional districts now, not wait for Texas to move first.
On his part, O'Rourke denied any wrongdoing and called the Attorney General a corrupt, lying thug. The court set a temporary injunction hearing for August 19th. Governor Greg Abbott says the clock is ticking on critical legislation and says he'll call session after session to get it done. I'm Jennifer King.
The National Guard and FBI are on the streets of Washington, D.C., and arrests have been made, including of a man accused of throwing a sandwich at a U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent and was charged Wednesday with felony assault on a federal officer. President Trump wants Congress to act to extend his emergency order past the 30-day limit. Here's Correspondent Ben Thomas.
The number of National Guard troops in the nation's capital is ramping up, while federal law enforcement officials will be on the streets around the clock.
We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick. Very quickly, as they say.
President Trump declared crime in Washington to be at emergency levels.
National Guards and them coming here, I mean, that's a little too much.
Some D.C. residents like Gerard Tyre say it's not needed.
I feel safe walking through the city each and every day.
I'm a little fearful now.
Sheena Taylor.
Especially because I'm African American. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I can get pulled over in my car, everything's legit, but I still don't know how that interaction will work out for me.
I've lived here 15 years and have never been a victim of a crime, never seen a crime.
Tom Power, who is white, notes crime rates have been declining.
More emphasis on crime prevention is great. It's just got to be the right emphasis.
And Taylor notes much of the crime comes from the city's youth.
And I feel like a lot of the programs that were around for the youth, they're no longer around.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
3 men have been charged in connection with the theft of more than $2 million from an armored truck in Philadelphia. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The Philadelphia area has seen a recent string of armored truck robberies, as most recent as this week.
We highlight this case because of the brazenness and because of the harm they put everyone in. You know, in these cases, you just don't know, and so it's not the Wild Wild West.
Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel spoke with ABC 6 TV.
This is one of our most formidable partnerships we have. We have officers detailed to the task force here. It's a force multiplier.
This particular heist came in June. The driver of the Brinks truck that was robbed was walking down a rear alley of a store when he was approached from behind by 2 armed men with AR-style rifles. Those men allegedly forced the driver onto the ground and took his company-issued weapon as well as his keys before taking off with the cash. Investigators think it was an inside job as one of the men arrested worked for the company.
We were able to recover the majority of that money that was taken from the Brinks truck, along with a number of assets of high dollar amount.
FBI Special Agent Wayne Jacobs sat down with ABC6.
And additionally, a large number of assault rifles and handguns as well. Whether or not they're part of a larger network or ring, that we haven't seen yet, but it doesn't mean that we can definitively rule it out at this point.
The three men said to be involved in the heist are all from Philadelphia, and all have been arrested and charged with robbery, interfering with interstate commerce, as well as gun charges. I'm Clayton Neville.
Among the stories we're covering next, what a Tennessee town is doing with a former prison, and sports figure's arrest leads to repentance when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Several members of law enforcement were shot in an incident in Southern Virginia. Fox News is reporting that sheriff's deputies were serving a warrant at a home in the small town of Gretna near the Virginia-North Carolina border when the shooting started. 3 deputies were hit by gunfire, but their injuries were initially reported as non-life-threatening. Meanwhile, in Keene, New Hampshire, one man was killed during a tense standoff with state police after multiple gunshots struck an armored SWAT vehicle. Police had pulled over a car for a traffic stop when the situation escalated. The driver of the car was later shot and killed during the standoff with officers. Police are expected to release more details in both cases later today. A Tennessee town has voted to turn a former prison into an immigration detention facility. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
In a 4-3 vote, Mason, Tennessee's 5 board member of aldermen, the mayor and vice mayor, approved agreements to turn a former prison into an ICE immigration detention facility operated by a private company. Mayor Eddie Noman says it's about bringing jobs to the town.
Right now we have a facility built for over 30 years, and we used to be ICE, and nobody complained about nothing about it.
Board member Virginia Rivers says many immigrants being swept up by ICE are law-abiding citizens.
We, as an official of the town of Mason that was elected by the citizens, should consider the consequences and the hurt that this would cause our local community.
All audio courtesy of WATN. Core Civic, the private company that would operate the facility, says it would create nearly 240 jobs and generate about $325,000 in annual property tax revenue. I'm Donna Warder.
Several nations unhappy with tariffs levied against them by President Trump are taking action by canceling large defense purchases. Politico reports that American ally Switzerland is facing increased pressure from politicians to drop plans to purchase U.S.-made F-35 warplanes. Swiss lawmakers pushed to cancel the purchase when the U.S. imposed a 39% tariff on Swiss-made goods. India, also frustrated by higher U.S. prices on its goods, is pausing efforts to buy American-made combat vehicles. Spain is also balking at their planned purchases of the Lockheed Martin-made F-35. America in the Morning continues. There's an update to the case of the United Healthcare CEO who was murdered in New York City late last year. Ed Donahue reports that a man from New York has been charged with stalking and harassing the loved ones of the late Brian Thompson.
A New York man is charged with cyber-stalking a family member of the killed CEO of United Healthcare. Shane Daly is accused of calling a member of Brian Thompson's family multiple times, justifying his death and saying the person he contacted deserved to die in the same way. Late last year, Thompson was shot and killed in Midtown Manhattan by a man prosecutors said was angered over what he viewed as corporate greed. The suspect pleaded not guilty. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Daley gleefully welcomed this tragedy and did all he could to increase the Thompsons family's pain and suffering. I'm Ed Donahue.
An American Olympic track and field star is expressing regret over her recent public arrest. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh reports.
Sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson has addressed her recent domestic violence arrest in a social media post and apologized to her boyfriend Christian Coleman. In a video, Richardson spoke about self-reflection and accountability. Richardson was arrested on July 27th for allegedly assaulting Coleman at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. She was held for over 18 hours. The police report mentioned a disturbance involving Richardson and Coleman, who declined to participate further in the investigation. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Anthropic has just updated their Claude AI, and it's claiming virtually anyone can use it to write code. Chuck Palm explains in today's Tech Report.
Another AI powerhouse, Anthropic, has just released their newest version, Claude 4.1, and it's turning out to be a real coding beast. Replacing outdated Claude Opus 4, this one smashes the record with a 74.5% score on the SWE benchmark, which means it's outpacing Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro and OpenAI's O3. Handling 1 million tokens on the fly is like 750,000 words or 2,000 pages, making it a coder's dream for building apps or debugging massive codebases. And thanks to Claude's artifact feature, which lets users build software in real time via a chat interface, this lets hobbyist programmers or newbies whip up apps without sweating all the techie details. Telling AI what you want your program to be is probably the future of coding. Available at Claude.ai and via API, this is a direct shot over the bow at OpenAI's dominance. For more, find me at chuckpalm.com.
Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman with Thursday Sports.
Baseball Wednesday, the league-leading Brewers won their 12th game in a row, pasting the Pirates 12-5. William Contreras drove in 4 runs. Brian Reynolds accounted for all of Pittsburgh's scoring with homers in the 5th and 6th to make it a 1-run game, but Milwaukee fired up the grill again with another half-dozen runs. And that 12-game winning streak also means free hamburgers for fans at a local restaurant. Elsewhere, the Padres pounded the Giants 11-1 for their 5th straight win. Meantime, the Angels scored twice in the bottom of the 8th to trip the Dodgers 6-5. So San Diego moves past LA into sole possession of first place in the NL West, with the two teams set to clash at Dodger Stadium this weekend. Dad's manager Mike Schilt looking forward to it.
We feel good. We always feel good regardless of who we play, so we're excited to go compete. We're just going to go play good, clean, fundamental Padre baseball.
The Astros are back on top in the AL West after a 4-1 win over the Red Sox, while the Orioles snapped the Mariners' 8-game winning streak with a 4-3 win. Jackson Holliday's RBI double in the bottom of the 9th gave Baltimore its first walk-off victory of the season. Hunter Goodman's pinch hit 2-run tater in the 9th lifted the Rockies over the Cardinals 6-5. James McCann and Ketel Marte went deep in the 9th to boost the Diamondbacks over the Rangers 6-4. Braves scored 9 times in the 4th to put down the Mets 11-6. Michael Harris with a grand slam. Nationals got a first-inning granny from Nathaniel Lowe, but needed an RBI single in the 9th from Dalen Lyle to trim the Royals 8-7. Reds blanked the Phillies 8-0. Hunter Green and the Gills allowed just 3 hits. Miguel Andujar with a salami. Tigers shut out the White Sox 1-0 behind the 2-hit pitching of Troy Milton and the Popsicles. Jacob Marcy homered twice and drove in 7 as the Marlins sailed past the Guardians 13-4. Wins for the Rays, Cubs, and Twins. That's Thursday Sports.
Trump announces Kennedy Center nominees when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Emmy season is upon us, with some of the first wins being announced. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has details.
On Tuesday, the Television Academy announced the winners of the 77th Annual Emmy Awards in juried categories. There are no nominees, but rather a one-step evaluation by a panel of professionals in the appropriate peer groups. Emmys can be awarded to one, more than one, or none in a category. The top winners were 2 animated Netflix series.
I am the dirt under your nails, Cupcake. Nothing's gonna clean me out.
Arcane, a steampunk action series based on the League of Legends games, won awards for background design and color.
it was the end of the world.
Love, Death, and Robots won awards for character animation, character design, production design, and storyboards.
Let's look at the octopus through the eyes of the experts who study them and the people who love them.
Prime Video's documentary Octopus won Outstanding Motion Design, while Shibuya's interactive series White Rabbit won Outstanding Innovation in Emerging Media Programming.
Everybody put your hands together. This ain't Texas.
Netflix scored another win for Outstanding Costumes for Variety Nonfiction or Reality Programming with Beyonce Bowl, the Christmas Day halftime show featuring songs from Beyonce's album Cowboy Carter. This is Beyonce's first Emmy, putting her halfway to an EGOT. The 77th Creative Arts Emmy Awards will be held in Los Angeles on September 6th and 7th, with an edited presentation airing on FXX on Saturday, September 13th at 8 p.m. Pacific. I'm Kevin Carr.
President Trump spent part of Wednesday at the Kennedy Center, where he announced this year's Kennedy Center honorees, as well as what role he'll play in the annual event. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
President Trump has put a highly personal stamp on this year's list of Kennedy Center honors.
1978, the Kennedy Center honors have been among the most prestigious awards in the performing arts. I wanted one. I was never able to get one. This year, it's true, actually. I would have taken it if they would have called me. I waited and waited and waited, and I said, the hell with it, I'll become chairman.
The center usually reveals the new names through a press release, but as its new chairman, the president went there to announce them. There's rock band Kiss, country legend George Strait, disco-era star Gloria Gaynor, Phantom of the Opera's Michael Crawford, and from the big screen, Sylvester Stallone. A bipartisan advisory committee usually picks the recipients, but not anymore.
I would say I was about 98% involved.
The president did not attend any of the honor ceremonies during his first term, but now
I've been asked to host.
Sagar Meghani at the White House.
America in the Morning for Thursday, August 14th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trouts. This is Westwood One.